Making a list of the best cars of all time is a subjective and challenging task. With this list, we aim to explore the most iconic and influential vehicles that have left an indelible mark on the modern automotive industry. From supercars to SUVs, through everyday cars and the occasional electric one, these cars pushed the boundaries of what a vehicle can be and shaped the automotive market as we know it today. And we narrowed down our selection to cars that entered the market from 1970 onwards to focus on the most recent ideas that defined the contemporary automobile. Range Rover. The Range Rover debuted as the car for all reasons in 1970. It featured a timeless design and off-road capability, and it redefined the SUV as a fashionable luxury vehicle for a night on the town. Not just mucking about a country estate in Wellies, it's also the main reason Land Rover became a brand. Volkswagen Golf. The Beetle may be Volkswagen's iconic people's car, but the Golf is the car that has defined the brand over the past 50 years. Affordable, practical, and fun to drive, the Golf, aka Rabbit in US, may be the best all-around value car ever made, and it spawned the sportier Golf GTI, perhaps the ultimate daily driver. Ferrari 308 GTB. The 308 GTB challenged the Ferrari paradigm, being a mid-engine V8 instead of a V12, and was so successful it became the paradigm. Aesthetically, it was a perfect blend of classic Ferrari looks with the trends at the time. It delivered legitimate performance, it was reliable. And Tom Selleck driving the Targa S version may have been as, if not more, important to the Ferrari's bottom line than its racing lineage. Honda Accord. The first Accord was a small hatchback, not dramatically better looking than cars like the Ford Pinto that came before, but its combination of reliability, practicality, and surprising sportiness forever changed what a small car was supposed to be in America and which brand you bought it from. Toyota Pickup 4x4. When we talk about Toyota, we almost always refer to the Land Cruiser, but the progenitor of much of the Toyota truck mystique was the Toyota Pickup, aka the Hilux. This generation set the tone with its utter indestructibility, while the truck line led to the Tacoma, and dabblings with a covered truck bed led to the 4Runner. Toyota FJ60. The FJ60 represents the golden age of the Land Cruiser. It still kept the rugged indestructibility, but it became more family-friendly, with features like legitimate rear seating that had access to heaters. And it hadn't blown up in size yet to the uber-luxe Land Crusher it became. How long do FJ60s last? The answer, after 40 years, is that we still haven't figured that out yet. They're still going. Chrysler Minivans. Chrysler set out to build a more powerful, safer, and more practical version of the Volkswagen bus and ended up revolutionizing the suburban family car and commenced the station wagon's slow, agonizing death. Seating for 7, a low, flat-load floor, and novel features like cup holders. Seemingly every kid from the 1980s spent time in the back of one of these, enjoying these features. Jeep Cherokee XJ. The XJ Cherokee made the SUV far more accessible, switching to a unibody architecture, shedding more than 1,000 pounds from the previous generation, and providing halfway reasonable on-road driving dynamics. It, and its eventual imitators, paved the way for the SUV to be the modern default family car, and it was a rock-solid design that stayed in production, with slight updates, until 2001. Mercedes-Benz W124. The 1980s were a glorious time at Mercedes. They made a handful of cars, and they could afford to pour effort into building the ultimate midsize car, the W124. It was a sedan, a coupe, a convertible, a limo, and a wagon. It served as the basis for the legends like the AMG Hammer and the Porsche-built 500e. It ran with everything from underpowered 4-pots to a 6.0-liter V8. And it was utterly unkillable, almost literally. These cars, especially the diesels, will be on the road until the government comes to take them away. Ford Taurus. The 1986 Ford Taurus was a milestone for Ford in the American auto industry by challenging convention with its radical design, for an American car, focused on fuel efficiency and the incorporation of advanced technology. With streamlined lines and a modern appearance, the Taurus set new stylistic standards for all American manufacturers and demonstrated that functionality could merge with aesthetics. Additionally, its focus on fuel efficiency addressed concerns at the time. while its build quality and advanced technology positioned it as a leader in its segment. Although it failed to match the build quality and reliability of Japanese cars, the 1986 Taurus marked the beginning of a new era at Ford and left a permanent mark on the American automotive industry. Ferrari F40. The F40 was the last Ferrari that Enzo Ferrari commissioned to celebrate 40 years of Ferrari road cars, and it may be the best and best-sounding of the bunch. The F40 was ferocious by the standards of the time, the first production car to hit 200 miles per hour allegedly. It also featured renowned quirks like having to lift up the entire front and rear body panels to access the frunk and the engine. Mazda MX-5 Miata. The first MX-5 Miata proved Mazda's point. You don't need to spend a lot or put up with endless pains to have a fun, wantonly impractical sports car. Rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, supreme road feel, just that little bit of comfort to make the suspension tolerable. It's a simple formula that keeps the car going strong 30-plus years later. Lexus LS400. Toyota came after the luxury sedan expert Germans with their first Lexus-branded vehicle, the LS400. They did not miss. The LS400 raised the bar on refinement and quietness. It was more efficient. It beat its rivals on price, and it sacrificed none of its Toyota durability. It's as cockroach-like as any Camry. Acura NSX. Honda decided to take on Ferrari with a high-performance sports car and did so, with a car that was still very much a Honda. The NSX was the first production car to drop a bunch of weight with an all-aluminum body, and it underwent painstaking chassis tuning with Honda F1 engineers and the legendary Ayrton Senna doing a more than trivial part of the testing. McLaren F1. McLaren gave famed F1 engineer Gordon Murray carte blanche to build his ultimate road car. The only compromise was that Honda wouldn't build him an engine, so he had to go to BMW to get a 6.1-liter naturally aspirated V12. The McLaren F1 had a full carbon fiber monocoque chassis. It sat 3 with the driver in a forward central position. And it changed the game for supercars. Only 106 were built, not all of them road-going. One was trashed by Elon Musk. Toyota RAV4. Toyota had an idea, a wonderful and, to some, awful idea. They merged the visibility and four-wheel drive from an SUV with the size and fuel economy of a compact car. They gave it a quirky name. After a round of experimentation that included a convertible and an electric car, they stuck with the four-door, which became America's best-selling and default car. Toyota Prius. Its first generation arrived at the end of the 90s, but it was not until the second that it began to be marketed throughout the world, making hybrids known in a market that until then was alien to this electrification technology. Over time, it has lost popularity. Within Toyota, there are other models that achieve better sales, but it was a pioneer. Ford GT. Ford reinterpreted the model with which it managed to beat Ferrari in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, creating a supercar that preserved the essence of the original. So far this century, it has even created a new generation that was born a few years ago. Honda FCX Clarity. Although little known, the Honda Clarity was the first hydrogen-powered vehicle to be sold to the public. It was released in Japan, and although very few units were sold, among other things due to lack of knowledge of the technology and the lack of charging stations, it showed that the technology worked and paved the way for the Toyota Mirai and the Hyundai Nexo. Tesla Model S. The Model S has stood out as one of the most important cars of recent years because it is the culprit of the popularization of electric vehicles, challenging conventional perceptions about the autonomy and performance of EVs. Its advanced technology, including autonomous driving, has set new standards for functionality, pushing the automotive industry to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles and redefine the future of more sustainable mobility. But most importantly, for the first time, an electric car was also attractive. Without a doubt, the Model S left its mark on the automotive industry, changing the way we think about and experience cars, and marking the beginning, right or not, of a new era of the automobile industry. As I told you, making a selection of this type is complicated and not everyone will agree with it. That's why I invite you to write in the comments which cars you would include, or which you would remove from the list, and which ones should be replaced. Thank you and see you soon.